When we think of the Olympics, we think of the pinnacle of human achievement. We think of peak physical condition, unwavering discipline, and the pursuit of glory. Then, there is the 1904 Olympic Marathon, a race so catastrophically mismanaged, so wildly dangerous, and so profoundly stupid that it remains the only sporting event in history that feels like it was directed by a fever dream. We're talking about feral dogs, poisoned winners, and a man who took a nap mid-race and still almost won. Welcome to Historical Hot Messes, where today we're asking, how did anyone actually survive the St. Louis Summer Games? The year was 1904. St. Louis was hosting the World's Fair, and the Olympics were essentially a sideshow. The man in charge was James Sullivan. Now, James had a theory. He wanted to test purposeful dehydration because nothing says fair sporting competition like seeing how long it takes for a human being to shrivel up like a raisin in 90-degree heat. There were only 2 water stops on the entire 26-mile course. To make things even more interesting, the race was run on dirt roads used by actual traffic. This meant the runners were inhaling clouds of pulverized stone and horse exhaust. If the heat didn't get you, the Victorian smog definitely would. Let's look at our competitors. First, we have Felix Carvajal. Felix was a Cuban mailman who raised money to get to the U.S. by running across Cuba. He lost all his money gambling in New Orleans, so he hitchhiked to St. Louis. He showed up to the starting line in long trousers, a white shirt, and a beret. Another runner had to cut his pants into shorts with a pair of scissors just so he could move. Then we have Len Townyan and Jan Masciani, the first Black Africans to compete in the Olympics. They weren't actually there for the games. They were part of a Boer War exhibit at the World's Fair. They just showed up and decided to run. Len finished 9th, which is incredible considering he was chased a mile off course by a pack of aggressive stray dogs. 9 miles into the race, Fred Lors decided he'd had enough. His legs cramped. And honestly, same Fred. So, he did what any reasonable person would do. He hopped into his manager's car. Fred spent the next 11 miles waving at the other runners from the passenger seat, probably enjoying a nice breeze. The car broke down at mile 22, so Fred got out and walked the rest of the way. He crossed the finish line first, took photos with Alice Roosevelt, the president's daughter, and was just about to be handed the gold medal when someone pointed out, "Hey, I saw that guy in a Buick." Fred's excuse? He said it was just a joke. The Olympic Committee, famously known for their sense of humor, banned him for life. With Fred disqualified, we turn to Thomas Hicks. Thomas was struggling. At mile 20, he begged his trainers to let him lie down. They refused. Instead, they gave him a tonic. For those of you who aren't Victorian doctors, strychnine is rat poison. In small doses, it's a stimulant. In large doses, it's, well, death. They mixed the rat poison with egg whites and a heavy splash of brandy. By mile 24, Thomas was hallucinating that the finish line was still miles away. He was gray, he was barely conscious, and his trainers were literally carrying him across the finish line while his feet shuffled in the air. He won the gold medal, lost 8 pounds during the race, and almost died in the medical tent immediately after. But hey, he got the trophy. Out of 32 starters, only 14 finished. Felix, our beret-wearing mailman, would have won, but he stopped in an orchard to eat some apples, discovered they were rotten, got a stomach cramp, and took a nap. He still finished 4th. The 1904 marathon wasn't a race. It was a comedy of errors that nearly resulted in multiple counts of involuntary manslaughter. It's a reminder that history isn't just about treaties and empires. Sometimes it's just a group of people in berets being chased by dogs while high on rat poison. And that is the definition of a historical hot mess. Subscribe if you think you could have beaten the Buick. We'll see you in the next disaster.